The room fell silent the moment David opened his mouth. Not because he said something profound, but because his voice trembled, his words stumbled, and his presence evaporated like mist in the morning sun. At that moment, standing before his entire department, he realized the cruel truth: no one was listening. He had the title of manager, but not the presence of a leader. And that stung more deeply than he cared to admit. David had always been the quiet one, the one who worked harder than anyone else, but also the one overlooked when it came to recognition. He had earned his promotion through dedication, long hours, and an almost obsessive attention to detail. Yet leadership, he was beginning to understand, wasn't just about the work you did. It was about the way you made others feel, and how you carried yourself when all eyes turned to you. That night, after the failed presentation, he sat alone in his small apartment, replaying every awkward pause, every hesitant sentence, every time his team glanced at each other with impatience. His chest tightened as doubt whispered, "Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'll never be the kind of person others follow." He closed his eyes and wished someone could tell him how to talk like a leader, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that would finally let his voice matter. The next day, something unexpected happened. As David scrolled through his phone during lunch, he stumbled upon an old video clip of Dr. Maya Ellis, a renowned speaker and leadership coach. She was telling a story about her early career, admitting how she once fainted in front of a crowd because of fear. The audience laughed with her, not at her, and David leaned closer to the screen. Her words rang with authority, but also warmth. She spoke not at people but to them. That night, David searched everything he could about her teachings. He learned the first lesson quickly: leadership begins with listening. He realized he had been so focused on delivering flawless information that he forgot the human beings in front of him. He remembered how one of his colleagues, Maria, often spoke passionately about her ideas, but he rarely encouraged her voice. He remembered how Jamal, the new intern, had asked questions that David brushed aside in the rush of deadlines. If he couldn't even listen, how could he expect others to listen to him? The change started small. In the next team meeting, instead of launching into his usual updates, he paused, looked around the room, and asked, "What's one thing you feel proud of accomplishing this week?" The room shifted. Faces lit up. Maria shared a small breakthrough she had achieved. Jamal shyly explained how he solved a technical glitch. David nodded and genuinely celebrated their wins. For the first time, he felt the room leaning towards him, not away. But listening wasn't enough. He soon faced his biggest test. 2 months later, the company announced a major restructuring. Morale plummeted. Rumors of layoffs spread like wildfire. His team was anxious, afraid, and some even considered leaving. As their manager, they turned to him for clarity he didn't have. His heart pounded the night before the meeting where he had to address them. He could either repeat the official, sterile announcement from headquarters, or he could speak from a place far more vulnerable, his own truth. The next morning, he stood before them. His palms sweated, but this time he remembered Dr. Ellis's second lesson: leaders speak to hearts, not just ears. He took a deep breath. "I won't lie to you," he began. "I don't have all the answers. I don't know exactly how this restructuring will unfold. But here's what I do know: I believe in this team. I've seen the late nights, the creativity, the determination in this room. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. And my job is to make sure every single one of you feels seen, supported, and valued through this process." There was silence, but not the same kind as before. This time, eyes softened. Shoulders relaxed. A weight lifted from the room. By the end of the meeting, his team wasn't buzzing with fear, they were buzzing with trust. Weeks turned into months, and David noticed something miraculous. His voice no longer trembled, because it wasn't about him anymore. It was about them. The more he listened, the more he connected. The more he connected, the more he found the courage to speak with conviction. His words carried weight, not because they were perfect, but because they were real. One evening, long after his team had left the office, David sat by the window, reflecting on his journey. He thought about the boy who once hid at the back of classrooms, too afraid to raise his hand. He thought about the man who had once stumbled through every sentence, desperate to prove himself. And he thought about the leader he was becoming. Not by changing who he was, but by learning how to share his voice in service of others. He smiled as he remembered the final lesson from Dr. Ellis's audiobook: to talk like a leader is not to dominate a room. It is to invite others into it. Leadership is not a performance, it is a conversation. David knew he would face more challenges, more moments of doubt. But he also knew this: he no longer feared silence. Because now, when he spoke, people didn't just hear him. They felt him. And that made all the difference. By the end of this audiobook-style story, the listener walks away with a powerful message: true leadership is not found in perfect words, but in authentic presence. To talk like a leader, you must listen deeply, speak from the heart, and lead with courage.